Hello there, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to talk about two different versions of War of the Worlds. The original 1953 version and the Spielberg version. There has been other TV versions and things like that around, but I'm not going to count them. I'm also not going to count the musical version, you know, the Jeff Wayne one, which has all the catchy tunes, and I've obviously got on CD, and I've heard it God knows many times. I've seen the video of the musical version. So, you know, I like War of the Worlds. You know, all the adaptations of it. It's been years since I read the book. I can barely remember what's in the book. So, if you're asking for that, it's been so long that, you know, so I'm not even going to try. There's also the Orson Welles famous adaptation that caused panic in America, as no one realised he was actually doing it. He did that kind of broadcast adaptation of War of the Worlds, but he did it very much as if it was happening today, as if it was through radio broadcasts, and people turned it on not realising it was an actual drama. So there's that. But these are the film versions. So George Powell made the first one, produced the first one, which was made in the 50s. It's very 50s. It's early 50s as well. It's very good. And this was just after the war had happened. This was like 8 years after the war had ended. So people were still traumatized by the war, traumatized by the Russian threat. So you can pretty much take the Martians as the Russians in some ways. The Cold War was going on, and everyone was actually pretty much patriotic at this point. It was very patriotic, very much like God bless America, God loves America. If you don't love America, you have a problem. Even scientists love God. Even scientists will spout religious homilies if needed. And everyone's a bedrock character. It's that thing through and through. You have to accept it in the film. If you don't accept it, you're going to hate the film. It's an old-fashioned film, and that's it. It's very influenced by earlier films. There's some nice character stuff. The scientists, who are all kind of stock characters, but they're character actors who can do a lot of things because they know what film they're in, and they know they've only got like 3 minutes of screen time, so they're going to chew the scenery to get that attention, which is great. Everyone in it is fine. The leads are okay. They're not great. They're okay. They're enjoyable. But you're not going to remember the leads. You're just not. You go through the film with them, but it's not the Thing, which had very much interesting central characters, like the Toby character, who was interesting with his problems. This lead character is a scientist, a smoke, with the pipe and all the rest of it. He's a young man compared to the older guys. He's fishing the local area when Martians come down, so he comes in as an investigator. He's the lead scientist who can tell them what's up, but he can still get down with the people. He's pretty much a character who does whatever the plot needs him to do. He's that kind of character, which means he's not very specific. But it doesn't matter. You're not here for characters. You're here for the Martians. And this film's only like 70 to 80 minutes long, so you're going to get the Martians. That's all it's about. Martians. And it's great fun. It's really enjoyable. Everything's very bright coloured. But you do get a sense early on of the community that's getting destroyed as the Martians come down. I mean, what you really get there is a sense the first third of the movie set in a town where the Martians arrive, or a comet arrives. They don't know what's happening, something's going wrong. A few people wait at the site when the Martians appear and kill them instantly. And you get a sense of the first third of our community that represents all of America that's getting damaged by these Martians and why they're all bad. And you can imagine all the other community beyond them is getting the same situation. So they actually do it really cleverly. That they're saying, this is Everyman America, and it's happening all over the world. And from this early section, you're getting an idea of everywhere else. Now, I watched this projected, so I got a sense of the scale. It's much better projected than it is if you saw it on a small screen, because You don't get the scale. I mean, obviously, yeah, you see the wires, but you do get a sense of scale, and you get a sense of the sense that they actually cared about this film. They couldn't afford the greatest of actors, right? But what they could do was get the production design right and actually try and have character actors in the background, and they care about setting up this world of this God-fearing world that's getting attacked. And then the Martians, you follow the lead characters as the Martians attack and start taking over the world, and you watch them and hiding. There's a really good sequence of in a farmhouse, and the Martians are going through it, trying to look through us and try and find out what's going on with us. And there's this thing that floats through that's really terrific. You know, there's some wonderful stuff throughout it that's great. You get to see a Martian. So all this stuff's great. Even though the lead actors aren't that great, you get the point of everything else. It's like everything else is really good around them, so it doesn't matter that you think you've hurt someone better. Because the parts are pretty much Howard Hawks reject parts. They're basically such a lot of Howard Hawks movies, and I try to do that, but they don't have the skill to do it with the lead characters. That's what they're doing. I mean, basically, they wanted to hire Howard Hawks, and they didn't get him, so they had to do what they could. And then the final third is terrific as well, as the hero has to find the woman of his dreams, as they have to try and escape Los Angeles, as it's the Martians are attacking. As you can see behind me, the Martians are attacking Los Angeles. It's a terrific sequence, as you've seen him getting trashed. He's going through all these churches to try and find her, because she said whenever she's in trouble, she goes to a church. Yeah, it's very much the 50s. I mean, the thing is, more blockbusters of any era are complete whores towards whatever the social climate is. Like, at this point, it was God-fearing, pretty much right-wing, so that's where they go to. Nowadays, it's much more left-wing, because that's where they go to. They don't care. It's whatever will make them money. They are complete whores when it comes to big-budget films this way. Whatever makes them money, that's all they follow. So, it's a nice sequence. There's this sense of Cecil B. DeMille influence as they're going through and seeing the fallen kingdoms. You have all these people in the hills watching the disaster unfolding. It's really enjoyable. I mean, it's a really enjoyable old-fashioned film. I mean, there is a distance to it when you're watching it because it is an older-fashioned morality that probably isn't yours. But the sense of craftsmanship as it's done is very much appreciated. It's a really well-made, old-fashioned film. It is really worth seeing because it is really well done. It's an old-fashioned film. And it's not it's somebody don't have the best old-fashioned director to really bring the people out. If they'd gotten someone like Howard Hawks to do it, it would have been really great because you'd had the special effects and this, and the people. Instead of just the special effects. And the general structure's good. You could follow this film and remake it and actually have the structure of this. It would be pretty solid if you got the kind of human component better. That's what's really missing here, is a human component. I mean, a lot of the military people make sense of what they're doing. They look very, they're much more human than you would expect. They're just people trying to survive this attack. They're not like warmongers or anything. All those kind of characters are always really enjoyable in this film. You know, all the support characters are really fun in this film. It's a really enjoyable atmosphere. It's just you have to deal with the God-fearing aspect, and we could have done better with the leads. That's the main thing in this film. But it's still highly recommended. It's still my favourite on-screen War of the Worlds, despite its flaws. I still think it really holds up really well for what it is. You just have to know what you're watching, as with any film. Now, of course, there'd be a remake. I mean, what do you expect from Hollywood? There's always going to be a remake. And we got it. We got a Spielberg remake, which is his nasty alien film after E.T. and Close Encounters. That's what he called it. And it does hold up that way. And it's obviously, it harks back to Jaws in the sense of a working class family dealing with something horrible happening. It's like a lot of the interest Spielberg had in the past in this film. It's just not as good. But it's not bad. didn't like this film at all when I first saw it. I thought it was really annoying. The thing that really bugged me, there was two things that bugged me that now one of them doesn't bug me as much anymore. The first one, I didn't think casting Tom Cruise as the lead was a good idea because he's too much a movie star to play a working man. And I still think that's a problem, but it's less of a problem now when I rewatch the film. It's like, yeah, they're trying something, but it's showing Tom Hanks. You know, they're trying to make him an obnoxious character who has to learn to work with his family and deal with it, which doesn't really work because he's so obviously a selfish jerk at the beginning. They're trying to make a Tom Cruise character, but it just doesn't jive with the working class element as much. Like something's misbalanced there, and I do get a feeling if you cast someone like Tom Hanks in there, you'd probably got a more human. Even made him a divorcee and having problems with his family, going through this environment, probably would have been a more interesting film. That's the first one. And it's not I dislike Tom Cruise. I like quite a lot of his films. I just don't think this is the same. I don't think this is as good as something like Edge of Tomorrow, where he seems much more relevant to the character. It works better with the character he's got there. This one, I think there is a tension between him and this character. Like, either they haven't written it properly or it's too broad, but there's something there that bugged me a lot when I first saw it. Now it doesn't bug me as much. It's acceptable, it's fine as a character. He's no Brody from Jaws, but it's okay. The second thing that bugged me, I still don't like, which is the idea is these Martians were all under the surface, other worms were under the surface, and they just dropped the people into it and they come up from the surface. That makes no sense. Why would they just wait till we're evolved and then take over? It's stupid. It's really stupid. And it never made any sense. It was a plotline that should have been dumped. You don't need it at all. It's just done for a physical effect. So there's that. I mean, it's done because they want a scene where the Martian comes up from the ground, but it could have just have been like meteors suddenly hitting the original story, and it would have worked so much better. But no, they didn't, and it's stupid. But the film actually aged a lot better than I expected. The film is a lot darker than I remember it being. It is much more brutal. The idea is that the Martians come, you see it from a working class environment, and you see it from people who are getting destroyed just through this whole environment. You see him, you get to see the people, and then you see them all getting killed one by one instantly as this whole area is destroyed where Cruise lives. And it's really good. It's a really well made section of the film. I see this whole working class environment destroyed, and then you go throughout the country as you see lots and lots of societies being destroyed. You know, it is really well made, put together. Visually, it's really well put together. Just wish the script was a bit better. Which again, which was my complaint with the first one as well. Wish the script was a bit better. Because there's all great visuals, but the script sometimes lets it down. This one is a lot more interesting stuff because it's based on the idea of showing you the devastation of the world and how people turn on each other. So this is very different from the original, with people are civilized to a point. Eventually in the original, they do turn on each other, but they're not really into that as much in the original film. They show it as devastation, as madness, but they want to go back to the God-fearing stuff. This one, a church is destroyed early and there's no God in this film from then on in. It's just, nope. So it is a lot more brutal. Like, the idea is, like, no, there's no sentimentality in this one for a time. Because it's a Spielberg film, so it's for a time. But what we do have is a sense of, like, society collapse. And the best part of it really is the first hour. As you see them going through the countryside, seeing them dealing with crash planes, people trying to escape, people panicking, people trapped in their cars as the electricity is turned off, and signals from the Martians destroy their electricity. Lots of stuff going on, and there's devastation as they go to this port where they try and get on a ferry, which they do, but the ferry gets overturned and all the rest of it. All that stuff is terrific. It helps you. There's a section where the little girl goes to the side of the river and she sees all these bodies floating down, which is really terrific. There's a lot of that stuff is really good. Then the second half kind of happens and it's not as good. They go into the underground section where they see the madman play with Tim Robbins, who's good, but the part's not quite there written writing. Then you have the red mist, which is visually really terrific. It kind of brings the film back on track a little bit after that underground section, which was a highlight in the original, but in this one it's overdone so much. It's done, but there's a lot more screwing around and suspense beats, but it kind of takes away from some of the simplicity of it, of what the original had, which I liked better, but it's still well done. I mean, there's nothing in this film is badly done. There's some really good sequences as you see people fighting the Martians knowing they're going to die. There's a bit where Tom Cruise's son goes off to fight and you think he's dead for a long time. There's all that stuff that's there. It's really well done. It's just there's little bits and bobs that aren't quite well done. And the family dynamic, the relationship between Cruise and his daughter, played by Elle Fanning, or Dakota Fanning, which one of them? One of them. Is good. The relationship between him and his son, which is much more traumatic, isn't. It's overdone. You know, it's... And the kid's a pain in the arse, basically. You would punch him if you were in this situation. Like, the fact that Cruise kid doesn't punch him at some point is a major defect of this film. Because the character whines way too much and doesn't explain himself at all what he wants to do. He just yells a lot. I want to do this. And it's like, it's stupid. So, I think the big thing that people don't like about the film is this character stuff comes back at the end surviving after it's been seemingly killed. And people thought it was sentimental. But they had that in the original as well. I mean, the female lead was supposedly dead for a bit, then you find that she's survived in church. And you find out it's the same sentimentality stuff as I had in the original. I'm going in this one. I could have done without that ending where it's sentimental. But it would have been a lot better if Cruise and daughter survived and that was it. It would have worked better. But it never bothered me as much as it bothered some other people, to be honest. I mean, it was underground Martian machines that bothered me. So it's actually a lot better than I remember it being. It's just not one of the better Spielberg films. I think he's done a lot better films. Even in that time, I much prefer AI to this. I much prefer the Terminal to this. He would go on and do a bunch of stuff I like better than this. This one I just think is one of his kind of mid-level films. It's been up a few notches since I last saw it, but it's still kind of a mid-level Spielberg. It's not one of his best ones. It's like, it's kind of like Saving Private Ryan in a sense. There's lots of good bits in it, but overall the scripting and the kind of mangles certain things. So it's like, it should have been better, but there's still good things there. It just needs more. I just think it's a miscast lead though, and there were some stupid things going on in it. It's a problem. But it's still a good film, which is not a great one, but it's enjoyable. So that's War of the Worlds. I still say watch the original better. Original's better for me. But if someone likes the remake, I'm okay with that. It's a different type of film entirely. Depending on what your taste is. There are some terrific scenes in the remake, but I just like the original better. So it's a taste thing more than anything. They've both got the same flaws. And they've both got the same good points too. So it's like, they're almost identical, even though they're two films made years apart, or different idea. They still have great effects, great atmosphere, the world destroyed. Not the greatest script, and not the best choices in casting. So they're the same basically, but I like the original better. I hope you enjoyed this one. This is not me finished with alien invasion movies. We've got What the Hell Is This coming up.